So your kiddos are resisting their homeschool work and they are fighting. You would like them to be motivated. I'm going to help you get a perspective shift. In other words, I'm going to look through my kaleidoscope and I'm going to notice that if I just shift this just a little bit, it shifts. I see things differently. And that is my goal in today's live. Welcome to the Homeschool Mama Support Group on Facebook here. I'm Teresa Wiedrick. I'm the certified life coach and homeschool mentor and graduated homeschool mom of 4 kiddos. Now I serve in the homeschool community. I support you so you can show up the way you want to in your homeschool, authentically, confidently, and purposefully in all the different elements of your life. So I'm here to support you. And if at any point during our time together over the next week, the next few months, the next years, where you decide now is the time that you'd like to join me for coaching, just ask me for a booking link and we'll have a conversation about that. So before I get started with introducing the new members into the group, we have 3 new members this week. We have 2 new members this week. I wanted to share with you the things that I believe, the things that I've learned about homeschool moms. I believe homeschool moms can and should nurture themselves as much as they nurture their kids. I believe homeschool moms can continue to become more themselves and develop themselves alongside their homeschool journey. I believe homeschool moms can encourage their kids to grow into who they were meant to be in their way, in a way that feels true and authentic to who they are meant to be in this world. And you, homeschool mama, also are helping your kids grow up by observing them, listening to them, allowing them to become who they were meant to be, learning about them, and helping them in their next steps. I believe homeschool moms can create authentic, supportive community and not just be uber mama waiting outside your kids' dance lessons or their youth group or their soccer activities. I believe homeschool moms can build satisfying relationships that support their choices and affirm the authentic them. I believe homeschool moms don't have to feel racked with guilt because of their reactivity. They can learn to soothe, self-soothe, and address their anger, their frustration, all of their big emotions. I believe homeschool moms don't have to feel uncertain, confused, or overwhelmed by their homeschool mom life or their homeschool choices. They can be confident and even feel more than good enough. I believe homeschool moms can do interesting things that fully engage their full selves, things that has zero to do with their homeschool life or their family life. Maybe develop a side business, maybe pursue an activity that they just find interesting. That's what I believe about you. So here in the Facebook group, the Homeschool Mama Support Group, every Tuesday at around 2:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I come to you live to welcome the new members in the group, let you know what is available here in the group, and also to address any questions. So if you have any questions, you want to put any thoughts, things that are happening in your homeschool, any challenges you're having, put them in the comment section down below, and I'll make sure to address them next Tuesday. I check in every day here, just as I do in the Homeschool Mama Support Group on Patreon. The difference between here and Patreon is a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of options available, really coaching in your back pocket over there. There's book clubs and writers' rooms, support groups, which we're having this Friday. And I'm going to be bringing my show and tell. It'll be my homeschool planning idea notebook, my handy dandy notebook. Thanks to Dora, my handy dandy homeschool notebook. And so I'm going to share with you how I used it and what exactly I would put inside of it. So we're going to chat about all things, whatever challenges people bring to the Homeschool Mama Support Group on Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you'd like to join us in that conversation, so this is a paid support group, but the first 7 days are free. So if you just want to know what's it like, you're welcome to join. Just ask me for a link. I check in here every day to respond to everybody's questions. So if you've got questions or thoughts, definitely put them in the comments section. You can check out the featured section that's at the top. There's all sorts of resources available for you there. I am just preparing to share with all sorts of different people. In my email community today, I was talking about dealing with our internal probably the messiness, the imperfectness of how we're going about our homeschool lives. And I shared my story around that and my way of framing that, my perspective shift in how you can frame it in a way that serves you, and also to help you understand how this messily imperfect home education that you're offering your kids is just as it should be. And if you want to reimagine how you're doing things, I've offered the free Homeschool Mama mini retreat. If you're curious about that, let me know. I'll put the link below. So that is the free offer that I have to share with you this week. And if you haven't already signed up, just let me know about that. So if you're a first-year homeschool mom, or you're considering homeschooling, you're thinking about what would it be like to live this homeschool life, where do I find the curriculum, how do I create a routine that'll work for me, how do I deal with my preschooler or my toddler that's not yet ready to start formal type things, then you're also welcome to join me tomorrow. Every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I reserve space just for you. And so we can have a chit chat about whatever is concerning you. And okay, so let's welcome the new members. So this week, Amy and Victor. So welcome to the group. My goal in this group is to do something a little different than a lot of Facebook groups. I like keeping it real. Everybody that connects with me in life coaching or homeschool mentoring or whatever in various capacities know that that's my goal, that I actually am this on the other side. I'm trying to get real with people and help them to become their truest, most authentic selves in their homeschool and their mom lives. So welcome, Amy. You've been homeschooling for 9 years. You've got a junior, a 7th grader, and a 1st grader, and you're interested in high school topics. I would love to hear more specific ideas on high school. I can imagine. I've now graduated 3 kids, and my youngest is in high school years. So I do know there's a lot to that. It's kind of like a re-upping of homeschooling. It's also a yielding to the children that you have in the high school years. So I am speaking all the time about how we need to yield or educate the child that's right in front of us, instead of the this idealized version of a homeschool child that we thought we'd be homeschooling when we started homeschooling. We have to let that one go in a whole different way when they go into their adolescent phase and they individuate, they become more themselves. They learn that they are not their mother, their father, their brother, their sister, all their family members. They are separate selves, and they're learning to become themselves. So that affects how you're going to be choosing your homeschool high school path, or your high school path for your kiddo. I can definitely have more conversation about high school related topics. If you're curious about anything specific, please put it below. Also, welcome, Victor. I'm so glad you love homeschooling. Yes, it certainly is something that the kids enjoy. I remember bringing my oldest home, and she was just tapped by the time she was finished grade 2. She was tapped. She was not herself, is how it felt. And bringing her home in the first few months, things shifted dramatically. So I'm so glad your kids enjoy it. You said the girls learn more and different things from the public and private schools. So true. It's actually, like, obviously it's work, so I don't want to deny the fact this homeschool lifestyle is work. It's definitely work. It's different work. And as a mom, we sign up for a journey of work that we may or may not have understood we were signing up for, but whether you homeschool or not, it's work. And yet it's an interesting work when you are taking the reins of the education for your kids, because it's work that is work of the heart, and it creates memories that you are so grateful that you built with each of your kids, or with all of them at one time. And it's work, but it's also noticing who they are and observing their natural interests or aptitudes and encouraging those things and helping them to know what the next step in their life is, whether that's when they're 2 or 7 or 21. It's work, but it's work from the heart. It's a beautiful lifestyle, this homeschool life. Some think that we're weird. Yeah. Maybe because we are. I don't know. Because, I don't know that we're weird. That's not weird. We're not weird, but we are okay with being our full selves. And that is weird. that's not what the majority of the culture is doing. So embrace your weirdness, be your fullness of who you are, and let's just lean into whoever you are. Just be you. And it's okay. It is why I bring up the discussion about internal, external boundaries when talking about how to be yourself and live outside this conventional box, because you do have to lean into who you really are and what you really believe and what your educational values are. And, you know, all the things that we're not trained in our culture to lean into. There's so many messages that are told to us about what we're supposed to believe or value, and we have an opportunity to step away from all of that and ask ourselves, what do we believe and what do we value? And so, yeah, that's probably weird, but in the best way. Finding right resources in short times, yeah. Oh, I wish I could share. I actually, it would be so much fun if we could have like a tea every Tuesday here while I am opening up my homeschool resource center, which is not officially a resource center, but it could be, because I have a hard time letting go of a lot of the resources that we've used over our homeschool years because they have so many beautiful memories. I saw that Vicky said she has a hard time decluttering her books, and that must be like a generational thing, because I am with you there, like 100%. I have so many books. I don't know how I'm going to get rid of those. I can't get rid of those. I can't. I love books. I just love them. Also, it reminds me that Victoria, that was hilarious when you said declutter your mind. I asked in a poll today about what you're decluttering, and I said, is it like, you know, the 3 top things? You can look at what they are. And then it dawns on me, wait, I should actually write declutter your mind, because that is a significant portion of the podcast episode I just released this morning. And it is absolutely why I think this discussion about decluttering has so much value in a homeschool mom's life. It's not just what is in your underwear drawer after 15 years. It's not just the question of where are the tops to the food containers or the bottoms, or why do we never have paired socks, or where is the eraser, or where are the scissors? I don't know where the scissors are. Actually, I do. This is what happens when you have kids grow up. You know where the scissors are. Yay, it'll happen. But anyways, decluttering is not just about where is the stuff. Decluttering is also what is going on in my mind. There's too much going on in my mind. Can I hear an amen? And so, Victoria, well said. As soon as you wrote it, I was just on the cusp of pressing the next poll comment of decluttering your mind. So impressive. I loved the timing. That was hilarious. Okay, so Lisa Whitesell, thank you for the question. I'm going to read out your question, but I'm going to just clarify or add a caveat that, okay, here's the thing. I know that I'm sharing a live Q&A in Facebook here, but I don't actually believe in advice giving. Go figure. But I really don't, actually. I think I have a wealth of experience, and not because I want to say that I do, it's that I actually do, as do many homeschool moms here that have lived with their kids for a good long time and have done this lifestyle and been coaching even other homeschool moms. So we have a wealth of experience, but we are not you, and we do not have your children, and we do not have your identical values. So I'll just try that again. And so I have learned that my goal is not to actually be an advice giver. My goal is to help clarify what you believe to be true. And that's why I invite you to join me in a coaching session, because that's what I do in coaching, is to help clarify what's going on for you. I cheerlead you, I coach you, in that I help you clarify what's already here so you get clear on what you want to do as your next step. So Lisa, you shared, I'm a homeschooling mom. I'm homeschooling my 3 boys, 3rd, 6th, and 8th grades now, because my husband and I decided from the beginning that homeschool is the best educational option for our kids. Mostly for the freedom it allows, freedom in our schedule, curriculum choices, etc. And the value of family is important to us. My main concern is that as our kids get older, they're resisting schoolwork more and more, and they are fighting with each other a lot. So how to get them engaged and motivated as middle schoolers and high schoolers, and how to help them get along well as brothers. It's not a particular time in the day that they're in conflict, just in general. The older two get along well, most of the time. The youngest seems to be the odd man out. I would like them to grow into healthy sibling relationships for life. Oh, Lisa, I said in the comments section last week, have I been there, done that? My main concern, you said, is that our kids get older. As our kids are getting older, they're resisting schoolwork more and more and fighting each other a lot. So if you are already, if this is an experience that you're having in your home as well, I would say that's because you are in the majority. This is a common experience. No one's motivated all the time. No one doesn't fight with other people ever, if I can use a double negative. No one's always engaged and, always gets along. But having said that, I think if I were having a conversation with you, I could take this from a few different directions. I would explore with you a discussion about your expectations. I know for myself, the idea of having conflict, still to this day, I don't enjoy conflict. Does anybody? Actually, there is probably one Enneagram type that's super comfortable with it, but most of us don't care for the conflict thing. Most of us feel like it's distracting us from our thing, whatever is on our list for today or our plans for today, and it's taking away the joy from what we're doing. And I totally understand that. It's like, for sure, in the top 2-3 things of the homeschool mom life that I found the least satisfying is the conflict that can happen. What I've come to understand is this, and so because I do not know you, I have not had a personal conversation with you, I can't know that any of these things apply, and maybe they all apply. I have learned that my expectation around my kids having conflict is unrealistic, because that's where kids learn how to relate to each other, is with each other. Sometimes just because it's a realistic expectation for kids to have conflict doesn't mean that you want to be in it all the time as the mom. Sometimes we enmesh with our kids in that we are very bothered emotionally and frustrated when they get into conflict because we feel the internal turmoil of that. And we need to learn how to recognize when they are having conflict and it's not us in the conflict. Of course, that is dependent partly upon their age. Of course, you need to be involved at times, of course, but the level of mental enmeshment impacts how realistic your expectations could be in trying to dissipate the conflict in your home. So, I'm curious, how much conflict do you think is normal? If you say 0, then I'll go crickets. I don't know what to say, because that won't happen. Some personality types probably are more likely to make your goal for no conflict happen, but I think it actually serves humans to be in conflict at times. Spoken from a 2, by the way, if anybody's following the Enneagram thread that I'm sharing through this conversation. It's not my default to want conflict, but I do believe that it's a necessity or requirement, or it's something that we are definitely going to learn. So we have to assume that we need to learn how to be at ease with it more. And we also need to teach our kids how to engage each other in healthy ways. And so the next thing that I would say is, what is your level of comfort, discomfort with conflict? How do you approach conflict with your partner, with the most important people in your life? How do you see the way that you're engaging in conflict affecting how they're engaging in conflict? Are there certain times of the month or certain parts of the year where you're more likely to see that conflict? Is that conflict just happening when you sit kids down to do formal type studies? Okay, so I'll move away from the conflict discussion, although I have a podcast episode about nonviolent communication, and it's not really talking about violence per se, like the kind of violence we think of like in the Middle East or physical violence or that sort of thing, although it can sometimes, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about nonviolent communication. It's a book by Marshall Rosenberg. In essence, he says that at core, most humans want to be seen, heard, understood. And when you can make another person feel seen, heard, and understood, whether you agree with them or not, but you make them feel seen, heard, and understood, there will be less conflict and more, satisfied relationship. And so I encourage you to check out that episode. That's most definitely one of the core modalities that I use when I am coaching, helping other women, primarily women is who I work with, women work toward healthier relationships, whether that's with their kids or whether that's with their partners or their parents. That's a common one as well, of course, like you as a homeschool mom with your parents. So that's worth checking out, because I think that's a conversation point that really should have more conversation in the homeschool community, is the level of healing that we as women experience is directly affecting how satisfied we are in our homeschools. Ask me how I know. And also the depth of, or the plan that we have signed up to, whether it's verbally declaring it or not, it's just what we believe to be true about how people should engage. That is actually affecting how happy we are in our homeschools. The, satisfaction that we have with our partners, if we're partnered, that's affecting how we're showing up in our homeschools and how we're teaching our kids about conflict and relationship. And it is directly affecting our kids. So when it comes to the discussion about getting them engaged and motivated as middle schoolers and high schoolers and how to help them get along well as brothers, if I tell you that I don't think you can motivate anyone, I'm probably not telling you what you want to hear, but I don't actually think you can. I think that when mom is excited and feels, alive in her own life, she is more likely to invite interesting conversations and have more, eager kids that want to hang out with her and do interesting things that she thinks are interesting. But it's not also a guarantee, because they're separate individuals. They don't always want to do what mom wants to do. And sometimes they are waking up on the wrong side of their nap, or, there's so many possibilities. There's so many wild cards in this, this homeschool thing, because there are so many wild cards in our family. And that's not always possible to motivate everybody. In fact, I would suggest to you that it's not really something that we can do. If there's anything about science that speaks strongly right now, it's that intrinsic motivation really does get kids to want to do things. But that's because ultimately they care about the thing that's in front of them. Whatever they're doing matters to them, and of course they're engaged. It's why when, say, your child is interested in Minecraft, you have a hard time getting them off Minecraft, and they like doing it. It might be the same reason why you have a hard time, I don't know what you like to do. Let's assume that you remember what you like to do, because so many moms tell me they don't. But, when you were 8, what did you like to do? And when your mom was interrupting you and said, I want you to go do your homework or something, you're like, no thanks. Your intrinsic motivation isn't turned on. Now, how do you get to that place of intrinsic motivation? Okay, well, I think this is oxymoronic. Is that the correct use of this? I genuinely think that the way to get kids to be more motivated is to actually expect less, like actually lower the intentions of your formal homeschool routines, if that's your goal. And if your goal is to do the thing that is expected of you in the educational, part of your life, maybe someone has prescribed it in the government program and you don't have a choice, or maybe, I don't know, for whatever reason you have something that's prescribed to you and you decide, yeah, we're going to do this anyways, then do it anyways. Just don't expect the motivation. And I think that kind of is always going to be the theme for parenting when you're asking your child to do something that maybe they don't want to help you do the dishes, but you can't expect them to be excited about it, but you can still expect them to do it. I also believe that it's valuable, especially depending on the specific child, their age, that when you know that yes, indeed, you can ask them to do certain things, it doesn't mean they're always going to be happy doing it. But if you expect a lot of things on repeat, they're likely going to be less motivated to engage that thing, and they'll feel less autonomous. So therefore they'll be less likely to show up in whatever activity it is with the same level of excitement or motivation. So those are things to consider. There is full science topics or research now on intrinsic motivation. And at core, it really says this, that humans learn because something matters to them. And can we sit down and do the workbook anyway? Can we do the dishes even when we don't want to at the end of the day, or drive our kids to extracurriculars again, even though it's not exciting for us? Yes, we can. And sometimes life necessitates that we do things that are not fun. But we have so much possibility, and as you shared, so much potential for freedom in your schedule, freedom in your curriculum choices. Freedom is a value for your family. Yeah, it was for me too. It still is. I've got grown kids, but it still is for me. And also, is it freedom that you are moving toward in your homeschool work? Are you actually focusing on the value of freedom in your homeschool? Or better question, how can you do that more? What are the practical things that you could either delete or lower your expectations around? Or maybe there's certain things you could infuse, like play and fun, eyeball to eyeball time with each of your kids. How could you do more of that? And then shift things so that it actually feels more free. Those are the first few things that I share off the top of my head, and I'm going to leave it there. If you want to join me for a conversation, I think I'm way more likely to hit a discussion more directly if you and I are having a conversation one-on-one. If anybody has any other things that they'd like to add to what I shared, Lisa's questions were, I'd be delighted, because I know there is a wealth of wisdom here. And if you have any questions, you'd like to ask me other questions, whether that's Lisa or anybody else, you're welcome to put a question or a thought in the comment section below, and I'll address it next week. I hope it's a really great week. And if I'm seeing you in the Homeschool Mama support group on Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, then bring your show and tell. If there is anything I was motivated by in school, it was show and tell. And I'm going to bring my show and tell, which is going to be my homeschool handy dandy idea notebook. So I hope you have all a beautiful week, and I will see you on Friday.